What's going on, you guys? I just finished up here with my lift for the day, my cardio. I'm gonna run you through some of the stretches that I love to do, specifically because they help me with my posing. And I think every competitor can benefit from these stretches because if you think about the main flexibility requirements for posing, you're gonna need a lot of extension in your spine and a lot of rotation in your spine, as well as hips, hamstrings. It's all connected, ankles, knees, all of it. So this video is just gonna be running through the basics of what I think everyone should do just daily as maintenance. A little post-cardio stretch session is always beneficial. And then I'm gonna follow it up with a part 2 with some intensifiers and some progressions to focus more on some localized areas and expanding your available range of motion within this. So you guys are gonna need a trusty yoga wheel. Every competitor should have one of these, a yoga block or 2, and something like a dog leash or a super band that you can wrap around your foot, and a yoga mat. So first thing I'm gonna do is get a good stretch from my ankles, through my calves, through my hamstrings, and a little bit of rotation up in my hip. So when you think about being able to effectively extend your spine, if your hamstrings are tight, it's gonna pull your butt down into the hamstrings. So the more length you can get on the backside of your legs, the higher and tighter you'll be able to hold those glutes. So extend one leg out, loop your super band around your opposite foot, and make sure your knee stays in extension or locked out the whole time. So you're gonna find a nice hamstring stretch until you're really maxed out there. And we're gonna start a little sequence at the ankle here. So I'm gonna take my ankle through 5 really big circles, like really finding as much range of motion as I can. And then I'm gonna go 5 in the opposite direction. I'm trying to loosen up these calves that get so tight from all the cardio and training that we do. Then I'm gonna take that sequence up to my hip, again, maintaining that nice extension in my knee. I'm gonna take through 5 little circles in each direction here, kind of increasing that stretch on the hamstring as I go. And then I'm gonna find that stretch again. I might have a little bit more range now, and I'm gonna hinge about halfway out and start the sequence over again from the ankle. 5 in each direction, and then from the hip, 5 in each direction. And then I'm gonna take it all the way down. Keep both hips on the ground here. Again, from the ankle, from the hip. Once you finish that side, we're gonna come across the opposite side of the body. Again, finding that stretch. Now we might have access to a little bit more room, and we're gonna come about halfway across the other side of the body, start the sequence again at the ankle, then the hip. Then I'm gonna keep both my shoulders on the ground, and I'm just gonna let this hip come up. Now kind of rotating through the spine and pulling that hamstring into stretch all the way down. Ooh, you might even get a little adjustment. My back always cracks. And start that sequence again at the ankle and then at the hip. So that's how you're gonna start things off. You're gonna do the same thing on the other side once you're finished with that. Remember, we're starting straight, hinging halfway out here, all the way out, and then all the way across the opposite side of the body, ending in that nice rotation of the spine here. Once you've finished with that, we're gonna take ourselves into a cross-body rotation. Keep both shoulders on the ground here. Pull one knee up, and you're just gonna lay it over your body, rotate through the spine. Try to find that ground. If you need some assistance, that's where your block is gonna come in. So meet yourself where you're at. You really wanna keep the shoulders on the ground here. Now, it's really important that when you're doing these stretches, so like a static stretch like this that we're just holding, we need to hold it for at least 2 minutes, or else it's not gonna make any changes in your CNS. Your central nervous system basically is adjusting to this new stretched position, and it takes about 2 minutes for that signaling to occur. So you can lay it all the way down, and then you can increase that resistance or the difficulty by extending your leg and pulling. Once you get really flexible in this position, which I still have a little bit more range here, you can add this block underneath your shoulder for a little elevation and try again. So that's just going to intensify that twist on your spine. So we're going to do 2 minutes on each side, like so. So next we're going to work on extension of the spine. And one of the easiest ways to improve that, the cobra pose, which is a yoga position, cobra stretch, whatever you want to call it, belly down on the mat. Keep your hips planted here. The reason is because, again, if you think about effectively being able to extend your spine, not only do we need length in our hamstrings, but we need length through our hip flexors here so that we can really make the front side of ourselves long. So all you're going to do here is you're going to start with 20 to 30 reps. Think about rolling your spine up like a fruit roll up from your neck, push into the ground, keep those hips down, drop your shoulders to your hips, and then roll back down. So you're going to start with an active component, just starting to talk to that spine, about 20 to 30 reps. On the last one, we're going to hold this position, really trying to open up the front side of our spine, extending as hard as we can, shoulders down, chin up, hips pressed to the ground, and you're going to hold this for 2 minutes. When you're done with that, we're going to kick one leg out to the side, make a nice 90-degree angle, keep the inside arch of your foot pressed to the ground. Really important here that you try to relax your butt and your legs. Try to relax the musculature surrounding your hips and do the same thing. Cobra, keep that planted hip towards the ground and just feel it opening. We're gonna go about 10 to 20 reps here. And on the last one, hold 2 minutes. And then we're gonna repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Relaxing all the musculature in your glutes and your legs, rolling up from the top, dropping those shoulders and rolling back down. We're gonna get about 10 reps here, and on the last one, hold 2 minutes. All right, so next we are going to go into a stretch for the glute, for the hips, going to increase that external rotation of this big femur bone. This is the pigeon pose. You might need a block for this. I see a lot of people doing this stretch wrong. I see a lot of people doing this and just kind of hanging out over this really sharp angle in the knee. To effectively perform this stretch for what we want to accomplish, which is more extension in the spine, better external rotation of the hip, and lengthen glute and hamstring so that we can actually get into our extended position, it's really important that you maintain a nice right angle of that shin when you bring it forward. So some people are going to need to elevate their thigh so that they can actually get into this position. So you're going to start from a plank. You're going to drive one knee forward, drop it to the front of your mat, and if you find that you're leaning away like this a lot, you need more elevation here. Open that up, sit nice and straight. We want to keep this hip, this knee, and this ankle basically in alignment, so you're sitting up nice and tall. Here, I'm thinking of the cue of driving my belly button forward, rib cage forward, extending through my spine, and really just allowing this hip to stretch out. So once you get a little bit more comfortable here, you can drop the block, so long as you're staying in a nice straight line, extending that spine, belly button forward, and eventually dropping it all the way to the floor. You guessed it, 2 minutes on each side here. All right, so next up, we are going to focus on the hip flexors themselves. Again, if you're very tight here, it's going to pull your torso forward, and it's not gonna allow you to fully extend that spine and open the front side of you. So we need to make sure these are nice and open. So to properly stretch your hip flexors, again, I see a lot of people doing this wrong. It is an active stretch, meaning you're not just gonna hang out here. So we're gonna start in this half kneeling position. You're gonna take this open front hip. You're going to posteriorly tilt, drive that glute forward, drop your chin to your chest, bring your rib cage to your hips like you're performing a crunch, and you're gonna hang out here and you're gonna feel this intense pull, basically from the knee all the way up here to the top of the pelvis. And our goal, you can see I'm like breathing hard. I'm applying a lot of effort to this, just like I would in my workouts, to tuck and push this forward to create length. And I'm gonna hold this for 2 minutes here. When the 2 minutes is up, I'm gonna relax from that active position. I'm gonna let this come forward and just open, and this is where I'm gonna sit passively for another 2 minutes. While I'm here, I might as well extend my spine, play around with some of that. Two minutes on each side. Forgot to take my apple cider vinegar today, and I'm feeling it. Oh. Then I'm going to move into my thoracic or upper spine. Allow that to stretch out because we really need to make sure this is up tall when we are posing. We can't have any hunchback or forward rolled shoulders. So we're gonna get into the child's pose, knees out, heels apart, toes together. Give yourself a little cradle for your butt to sit into. And we're just gonna reach forward, drop that chest to the floor, keep your butt to your heels, and bring your gaze forward. And we're gonna hang out here for 2 minutes. My thoracic's really tight today. If you can see, I can barely get it to the floor. So hang out here for 2 minutes and just breathe up into that rib cage, into your upper spine, until you create some length back there. And then as you feel like you've gotten some more flexibility, you can bring those hips up, increase that angle, drop the chest to the floor, gaze comes forward. And finally, now that we have stretched our thoracic, we have done all of our cobras, we've opened up the hip flexors, we've opened up the glutes, we're kind of warm, we've done all the prerequisites. We're gonna finish with the yoga wheel because this can be pretty intense for some people. So you're just gonna start by just laying right over the wheel. Again, you're gonna wanna hold this for 2 minutes. And what I like to do here is I like to start with it right up against my hips at the lowest part of my spine, and just lay over and allow this to kind of just mold to your spine. And I usually go 3 minutes because I go to 3 different positions. So I'll do a minute here, then I will roll up a little bit onto my spine, bring my hips up, move to the middle of my back, hold here for a minute. You can extend your arms up over here. You can let them hang out. And then finally, I will go to my upper back and finish 1 more minute here. Once you've created some space and some flexibility, you can intensify this by adding some space underneath the yoga wheel to give it a little bit more arch. So you can use a block, you can use a box, anything really, a plate. It might not be graceful, but I lost a sock. Yeah. Yeah, motherfucker! And that's it.